I feel like when a company gets so big, people take the humanity aspect out of it, and they forget that there's still someone behind the logo.
A front-end collision car that you could probably fix and drive, C5 for $3,500.
Oh, hey.
I'm hired to come in and build cars, trucks, buses, anything automotive, mechanical, for whatever TV show or movie is being filmed. Pretty much every car in the movies are junk.
What was the most fun car to work on, in your opinion?
It was a 1947 Tucker. No seatbelts back then. You were supposed to get down into the floorboard so you didn't go through the window.
Holy
So you could buy probably half a dozen to a dozen McLarens with the price of that car. Last year, there were 3 different engines in that car. It was an engine per race last year. You will never know if you're good at something or you can be successful in something if you don't try. If you try something and you're bad at it, then you know what you're bad at.
Yeah, look, they said that I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. W's only, you know I've been.
Welcome back to the #1 Drift Podcast on YouTube. I am Dawson, and we have...
Justin Hard.
Nice to meet you, and thanks for coming on. If you are new here, don't forget, like, we just post every single Sunday. So if you want to go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss an episode, that would be fantastic. We are actually almost to 15K subs, so let's get there. But that's really all I have to say for the intro. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, Justin Hard, from Birmingham, Alabama originally. I live in like the Atlanta area. Everything in Georgia is Atlanta nowadays. Yeah. Crew chief for Adam Knappich Racing, Donut Media Car, Pro Spec. And yeah, came up to shoot the crap at you today.
Hell yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Well, you kind of seem to have quite a resume. So tell me how you kind of just got into cars in the first place.
Yeah, it's always funny to like look back when somebody says something like that, because you're always in the position of like, you want to be at the next level. So when someone like, this is your success and somebody's in another spot, so you got to kind of check yourself. But always been into cars. My grandfather was an old hot rodder. He always had cool cars sitting around when I was going up to visit.
Yeah.
Hot Wheels, RC cars, like anything with wheels, driving it, racing it, wrecking it, taking it apart. Back then, not knowing how to put it back together.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I just molded into it. And then when I was 16, I barely had enough money to buy a car. Definitely didn't have enough money to pay somebody to fix it. So I learned how to fix it. And that was back when the forums were big, so I could read for days.
Oh, yeah.
And not know a single thing about it. By the end of it, I felt like an expert. But definitely YouTube has been huge, and just striving to learn, never being comfortable with where you are.
Yeah. Every skill I use today, I've basically learned it from YouTube.
Yep. YouTube University, right here.
Always preach that. Hell yes. So tell me about like what cars you have.
Currently I have a 1984 528E BMW. I've rebuilt it 3 times. I actually just got a new motor in it last week, started for the first time. Always been big into old BMWs. I just sold my 1968 2002. Beautiful car. I caught it at a good time when, after the COVID spike, when everything went up in value, sold it for a premium. I have a lot of junk that are plans of mine that I'll never get to, that I lie to myself about every day.
Amen to that one. I think we all felt that.
But then my favorite car is my 73 Camaro split bumper. It was my granddad's car. He built it in the late 70s. Like I said, old hot rodder. They didn't have
That's pretty
the
cool.
internet. They didn't have anything. They'd go to the local store, or they'd make what they wanted. So
back when it was better.
It's all just like, custom fenders, custom bumpers. Wheels are 14 inches wide, side pipes, and it's going to stay exactly like that.
That's fucking sick.
Yeah.
I like that. You'll have to send me a picture of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Throw it up there. Well, I know you kind of used to help with Midpond a little bit, you told me. So how did that kind of come into play? How did you get to that point?
Well, keyword there, helped.
Helped.
I was that's people involved with stuff like that. It's a passion project. Not naming anybody specifically, but it's always disheartening to do something for somebody else and then have other people kind of come in and do the same thing and try to take the credit for, I mean, not what I did, but you know, Ken's an amazing man. He's a caring person. He's passionate. He's energetic. He's gone through tons of tough stuff. I actually met him when I was 16, and he was working at a place that I went to pretty frequently. And I just thought he was, you know, an employee there. I didn't know he was just this like mogul. You know, he's kind of working that job because he was bored, from my understanding.
Oh, wow. I didn't know
in
that.
between stuff, but he's got all kinds of stuff that you'll never know about. And then I heard, you know, Ken bought a racetrack, and I was like, what, Ken? He's like, yeah, Ken.
Old man Ken?
Yeah. So I lived like 15 minutes from there. So every weekend, if there's an event, we were there just helping park, cutting the grass, you know, taking money, whatever we had to do. It's because we loved it. It was so much fun. And I started doing media for all the events for a little bit, just to help out. You know, I wasn't making that my career path or anything like that. I just had a camera and I was like, cool, I'll go out and, you know, it helps with exposure. Anything, you know, Instagram,
help you learn
Facebook,
a little bit.
YouTube. Yeah. It's just anytime. So met a lot of cool people. Obviously got to spend time with Ken, which is something I hold pretty close in my life, is finding good people and finding people that motivate you because of their success and latching onto that, not to leech off of that, but to latch off of that and to learn and become more like those people.
Yeah.
So it was any chance I got, any opportunity, any energy, you know, we were always at Midpond. So everyone involved with it's been, as far as I know, I haven't been there in a few years, but everyone involved with it was always kind of along the same lines.
Yeah. Well, like so were you there for the like very first event at Midpond?
I was there for the first event when Ken bought it.
When Ken bought it, okay.
There were a few events there, to my understanding, that I'm not sure who ran it, but there were a few events there that were pre-Ken, and I wasn't there for that. But
I didn't even know that.
Apparently they went well. I think it was just one or two. It wasn't like a big series of events.
Oh, cool. Okay. Well, the first drift event that y'all had there, what like catastrophes happened? Because you know, every first drift event someone hosts seems to have something go wrong.
Oh, I wouldn't say catastrophe. Obviously people go off track, and then, you know, I don't
realize
remember
how muddy that place was.
Well, it did get muddy, but I don't know if that was, I remember that being not the case that day, but nothing big. It went pretty smooth.
Yeah.
There was,
Sorry.
you know, not a huge turnout, but it was, a lot of people were passionate about it being in Alabama. And there was Turner Field, which was 2.5 hours from there, that actually got shut down like a year or two before Midpond at all, was the only thing that we had going, except for a few pop-up events and like parking lots here and there. So it was just really energetic. Everyone was happy to be there. You know, it's not, there was no ego with anybody being there by any stretch of the term catastrophe.
Yeah. Only reason I asked is because Midpond just has such a good reputation.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like anything really bad ever happens there, unless it's someone wrecking their car pretty bad. But
there's nothing that I ever experienced there that was just like a game changer. It was largely to do with the attitude of Ken and the people that Ken attracted.
Yeah.
And that's, when you just want someone to succeed, you're not worried about what you look like. You're not worried what you get out of it. It's just like helping somebody change a tire on the side of the road. It doesn't help you in any way, shape, or form. It takes time out of your day. It takes, you know, your gas. It takes whatever, but it helps them, and that's what makes you feel good. So we like to focus on that.
Yeah. And so this was around what time in what year, you think?
I'm terrible with timelines, so I'm not speaking for anybody. This was 7 years ago, probably.
Okay.
6-7 years ago. It doesn't think.
That's not too bad. And so this was before. You said you went to Chase Bays for a little bit. And where is Chase Bays, by the way?
In Birmingham,
okay.
Alabama. Yeah.
That's why, dude. Shipping is like fairly quick.
Yeah.
To my house, it's pretty crazy. So I always wondered that.
Yeah.
But Okay, so how did you transition from going from there to Chase Base?
Well, my involvement with Midpond was never in employment. So that was just, like I said, it was a passion project.
Well, that's fair.
For all of us involved. It was like, we just wanted to volunteer our time to get there. So,
well, I guess let me back up then. Where were you working at the time?
At the time, I was probably 2 years into running a business. I started parting out cars. So
Oh, sick.
I had, I had free time, but that's all in here. And you know a lot about that because you've been running this thing nonstop.
Yeah.
And it was Chevrolet based, so LS cars, a lot of Corvette C5, C6, SS Camaro, anything with an LS in it, I would buy and pretty much part out. I'll transition back into your original question. When I was in year 3, 4, I hit a dead zone with the business. I was just burnt out. I didn't know what direction to go. It was at that level of success where you were like, well, I don't know my next step. I'm kind of outworking myself. I'm doing well, but I don't know where to go with it. And Chase is from where I'm from. We were never really close friends or anything, but I knew him. And I always knew of Chase Bays. And I know he started in a basement in his parents' house, or I think his mom's house. And so I hit him up one day. I didn't really know him, but I was like, dude, this is where I'm at. You want to have lunch and just, can I pick your brain? And he agreed to it. We sat down, chatted. And then like a month later, I jokingly sent him a text like, yo, you should let me come work for you. He's like, yeah, I actually have an opening if you'd want to come do it. So I took the opportunity to come and learn from him and how he operates as a business. It's like I said with Ken, surround yourself with people that motivate you. And that's what gets you to the next level sometimes. Yeah. Because you're your own crutch at that point. But it was a great experience overall. There's a lot of people that work there that I'm still friends with that I didn't know before. Gave me a lot of opportunity to expand on leadership, because when you're working for yourself, you're your own leader, but that's a lot different. You can beat yourself up all day long and not have to apologize about it. So that was cool. It was really good. I learned a lot from Chase. I learned a lot from the guys that have been there for a long time, and some of the new guys even coming out of high school and showing their work ethic is motivating. So don't ever let age be a factor, or experience being a factor. It's all attitude. That's all it is.
Yeah. Okay. I personally run Chase Base Parts, so I if you want, you want to talk about like some of the people that always seem to hate on Chase Base? I know delivery times, like back orders, stuff like that, but
you can find anything wrong with anything if you look for it.
Yeah.
You can you go buy a brand new white t-shirt and you look at it for long enough and you'll find an imperfection somewhere. So in my experience, I never saw anything negative about. Do you want to pause?
No, it's fine. Okay. It shouldn't pick it up that well.
Yeah. So you can find anything wrong with whatever you're looking at if you dwell on the negative side of it. So I've never ordered anything from anywhere repeatedly, and it would be 100% positive experience.
Yeah, of course.
Amazon's a perfect example. I love Amazon. Everybody loves Amazon, but it raises my blood pressure multiple times a week.
Tell me about it.
'Cause I'm looking at it. So no, the amount of time and effort that goes into the products there is something that every business should strive for. There was exorbitant amounts of money spent on R&D, on testing, on hiring engineers to do things that maybe we weren't capable of, either with equipment or intelligence, or if we didn't know as a team, it was looked for somewhere else and outsourced to get it done the right way.
Yeah.
So that was, I got nothing bad to say about any of the products.
Yeah. I think it's people just being small-minded.
For sure.
I feel like when a company gets so big, people take the humanity aspect out of it, and they forget that there's still someone behind the logo. Like, not everyone's gonna get that shit perfect.
You go to Chick-fil-A, and you can,
dude. Yeah,
it's notoriously a fantastic place to go because it's always a good experience. You go on Yelp or Google, and there's going to be a 1-star review saying, I wish I could do negative stars. So-and-so was rude. They didn't do this. They forgot my French fries. They did. It's like,
Yeah.
Okay. People just want to be heard. They want to be.
Yeah, someone's always got something to say no matter what.
Yeah, it's stupid.
That's crazy.
I wouldn't pay any attention to it.
And dude, I have the power steering kit
Mhm.
and I have the hydro lines as well. Never had a fucking issue. I haven't been able to fully run the power steering kit, but like it doesn't leak. Doesn't like nothing's wrong. I don't know. Everything in the quality of it with the sleeving and that they do on it and everything is just I think it's great.
Full disclosure, since I don't work there anymore, I'm not representing the company by saying this, but
yeah, neither am I.
Almost all of the issues that I saw with people having problems. I mean, there's always going to be manufacturing defects. It doesn't matter what company it is, what product, it's just going to happen. But that's another thing that was hugely emphasized while I was there, being quality control and paying attention to people were putting parts on their drift cars to go 100 miles straight into a wall. You can't skimp on safety. You can't skimp on quality.
Not at
all. What I was saying is most of the problems we saw were largely due to neglect in installing the part or not knowing certain things. And not to talk badly about the people buying the product. It's just the way it is. When you don't know, I've been there, you've been there, everybody's been there. Things can happen that you don't know why they happen, and then you blame the product. So,
of course,
I would point the blame more towards that.
Yeah,
for sure.
A lot of ignorant motherfuckers.
That's the world we live in.
Oh man, you gotta love it.
I'm the smartest person in the world, so yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. Far from
it. So how long did you actually work? Oh, what the fuck? You good?
Cat's freaking out.
Yeah. Hopefully y'all can see it from that angle.
Just take care of those demons so we can talk about cars.
All right. Okay. So how long were you actually at Chase Base?
Like I said, I'm terrible with time frames, but I want to say 2 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that would still be, I would say, especially coming off from building a business and going into that, to see how, being that high up in the business and being able to see how everything was ran, I think was nice. It was great. I would love that, actually.
I encourage anybody to take a step back. You know, it takes a lot of focus to start a business. It takes a lot of time and energy. Sometimes it's important to take a step back and see it from an outsider's perspective, even if that's yourself. If you take yourself out of the situation,
it's very hard to do.
You can see what you do wrong. You can see where you can improve on your priorities, and you can operate more efficiently that way if you do that. So I wouldn't say stop pursuing your dream. Maybe just say pause, take a breather, go work for somebody that you admire if you have the opportunity that's doing something similarly, with the understanding that you're not going to just screw them over after you're like, okay, cool, I'll back to my stuff now.
Yep.
That's definitely important. You don't want to get to the point where you're hiring people and someone then come and learn from you, and a year in they're like, all right, I learned what I want, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. That would be a shitty situation on that part. All right. So where did you go after you left Chase Base then?
So I left when I moved to Atlanta.
Okay.
So I actually started my business back up when I moved to Atlanta. There was
still just parting cars out.
Yeah, there were 4 locations, the auctions I bought from, like 30 minutes around where I lived in Atlanta versus 1 in Alabama.
Yeah.
And I really wasn't even buying off of like Copart or IA insurance, IAAI.
Words are hard.
Literally. Insurance auctions when I was in Alabama, I'd buy them off Craigslist and Facebook. So it was really a bottleneck for the business. And it was not the reason I moved, but it opened that bottleneck up greatly, moving to a better city for that.
Yeah. Kind of and then did you stick with like Corvettes and stuff, like GM stuff still? Yeah. Okay. How much were you getting those for through auction and everything?
Back then, it's gone way up now. Back then, it was, and it depends on the quality of the car. Like, I bought a C6 Corvette one time that was burned, and I got it home and realized there was nothing on it worth money. I didn't even take it off the trailer. I just took it straight to the scrapyard.
Damn.
Scrapped it. And that's part of running a business. But
how much did you lose on that one?
I think I only had like $1,500 in it.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I say only.
Yeah.
But
a burned fucking car, you know?
yeah, you'd get cars like that. Then you'd get cars that were just like a front end collision car that you could probably fix and drive, like no frame damage or anything.
Yeah.
C5 for $3,500.
No way.
So
That's crazy.
You
And what did it compare to on Marketplace at the time?
as far as like resale value?
No. So like if you got a Corvette from the auction for $3,500, that same exact Corvette, if it was being sold, if you bought it off Marketplace, what would it be?
Oh,
priced at?
Okay.
Comparatively?
Pretty similarly. And once you could always sell it for more privately because there's licensing and business stuff involved in buying with those sort of auctions. But once you pay fees and going and getting it and bringing it back and listing it, I mean, you're talking pennies.
Yeah, that's fair. You don't do any of this stuff anymore? How come? Just don't have time.
I should. I've got so much crap laying around. Everything's worth more parted out. It's just the time involved in taking it apart and selling it and then storing it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people think about you bought a car and you put a set of wheels on it and then you got those 4 wheels sitting in your shop forever.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't want to throw them away, but they just sit there. So
those weren't even mine. Those were my mom's from her Jeep. As soon as she got the Jeep, she replaced the wheels on it.
Yeah.
And the tires that were on that were the same size as my truck tires.
Yeah.
So she gave me the wheels and tires for Christmas one year. So I swapped the tires on my truck.
Old stock wheels and tires, if there was a rug big enough, I just sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
Just get rid of them.
Yeah. Nobody wants them, man.
Well, there's a market for stock wheels, but again, cost and time analysis in a business. You can't scrap a wheel with a tire on it most places. And if you do, they charge you like $2 or $3. And the scrap value of a wheel usually outweighs that fee. So,
you just had to pay gas to go take it there.
Yeah. Or you rack them up for like a year and you take a trailer load full of wheels and then you have all this crap sitting in your shop forever. But if you have the space and the time and a tire machine, take the tire off, get rid of it, put it on a shelf, sell it as a stock wheel. People bend and break wheels all the time. Spend 2 seconds in Atlanta or any city with potholes and bad drivers, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. I've driven through there plenty of fucking times and know that.
Because Dawson lives in the woods.
Yeah. Well, it's actually, you'd be surprised. It's closer to the city than you think.
Yeah.
5 minutes. You probably came in down 231.
I saw nothing on the way in.
Yeah. Okay, so.
I heard banjos.
Well, no, you came from. Yeah, you probably came through Tullahoma.
I don't even know.
Definitely nothing through that way.
This is my generation showing. I GPS'd it and didn't pay attention to anything, and I hate that about myself.
Oh, I feel you. I do that everywhere.
Yeah.
I'll be going somewhere in town, and I'll still do it just to see what traffic's like.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's just like become a convenience at this point. Damn, where were we?
Moving to Atlanta, starting a new job. So I moved to Atlanta. I didn't originally move to Atlanta for the job, but I ran the business for a year or two and then started working in TV and film, which Atlanta is a huge, huge market for TV and film right now. Nobody's working because of the strike, but hopefully that stops soon and everybody can get back to work. But that's what I'm doing now. And that's 3 years ago.
Yeah. And that's doing like actual like movies and stuff like that?
So I'm hired to rookie move.
Oof.
I'm hired to come in and build cars, trucks, buses, anything automotive, mechanical for whatever TV show or movie is being filmed. So it may be.
Holy shit. That's cool as fuck.
It's not all cool. It's a great job. It's awesome. It's super cool.
I bet it's cooler on paper than what you actually do.
To explain that, you might have, when you see a scene in a movie in New York, downtown, there's cars driving by, that I might have to prep the cars driving by. So I've got
you might get stuck on the boring
taxis that I have to like check the brakes on, check the fluids, make sure the battery's charging, make sure the windows and doors work, just basic stuff.
Just monotonous shit.
Yeah. But there's definitely cool factors to that job when there's stunts involved that you have to prep. Safety, you want that taxi that might just be driving by then to drift around a corner.
Yeah.
So depending on budget, you make sure the rear end is able to do that. You might put a hydro on it. You might it's called a slide brake in that industry. It's not called a hydro.
What the
And they're
fuck?
usually foot brakes because you don't want to see the actor pulling the
Oh.
handbrake. So think of like a factory
crazy.
parking brake in the floor,
Yeah.
but it's got a wheel wood
spring
or
or whatever.
a master cylinder with a pedal on it that's then connected to the
That's
back.
cool.
And we make custom lines, brackets, whatever needs to happen. We'll make it happen.
Wow.
So that's the fun part. Yeah, it's really cool. It's always
How
a
did you
challenge.
stumble into something like that?
I know it's cliche to say, but it's all about who you know.
Well, no, I totally agree with that. Because the one saying that's always kind of stuck with me on that subject was, "Show me your friends, and I'll show you who your future is, or
Yeah.
what your future is."
Yeah, if you
Something like
choose
that.
to.
Yeah, yeah.
If you choose to. You see all these guys hanging out with rappers and they do nothing all day, but like be there.
Yeah, most rappers aren't even really rich.
Yeah.
They don't even have that much money.
Right.
It's just all most of the cars you see are leased. Most of the money you see
Oh, yeah.
is not really their money, which are a loan.
And pretty much every car in the movies are junk because they're probably recycled. So that's something that I didn't know until I got into it. Is a lot of cars that are used for a certain movie or show
Polished turds.
are kept. Well, no, they are, but they're kept and then reused for another show.
Oh,
So if they're already kind of prepped for
so
something,
they're like props its entire life.
yeah, pretty much.
Oh my god.
Sometimes, I mean, you get all kinds of stuff, but that's not uncommon.
Okay, so wow, that I could go so many different
I
ways
can't talk
on that.
specifics.
You can't. Oh, not even about past ones.
No, not really. I mean, I can, but no. We'll
Damn.
skip that one.
Shit. All right.
I can talk cars. I mean, if you want, like
Yeah. Okay.
little
So
situation.
what? I guess what was the most fun car to work on in your opinion, and what the circumstance was?
Fun wise for me, because I'm way more old school than a lot of people. Excuse me. Was a 1947 Tucker. Do you know what that is?
I've heard of them before.
So
I don't know if I've seen one.
There's actually a movie called Tucker. Preston Tucker was designing and building military vehicles.
Okay.
And it's kind of a success story where he was like grasping at straws. He made
Sounds
a
familiar.
really cool, unique product, but then they shot it down, and like he's just always spending money and not making anywhere.
Okay.
But the story in a nutshell is that he built this car. It's supposed to be revolutionary. It was mid-engine. It was safety-wise. It had a window that was supposed to pop out if you're in a wreck. The floorboard in the front, you could fit like 6 people in it, because if you got into a wreck, you were supposed to, no seatbelts back then. You were supposed to get down into the floorboard so you didn't go through the window.
Holy
So
shit.
The engine was from a helicopter. They redesigned it because helicopter engines are vertically mounted.
Yeah.
So they had to redesign it, add an oil pan, because now it's horizontally mounted in a car with drive shafts. The suspension was a rubber torsion suspension, which was super cushy, but didn't last long because back then rubber components were just not where they are today. So there was only 50 of them ever made, ever. Rumored to be 51, but they never proved that. There's 47 of them left, and we had one of them on a show that we got to personally work on and do. I mean, I was scared to touch it.
I would have been too, yeah.
Any little speck of dust, I was always.
I've been in front of just a McLaren and been scared to touch it. So
yeah, I won't say the value or get too specific about that or who owns it, but you could buy probably half a dozen to a dozen McLarens with the price of that car.
Oh,
but
they had to rent it.
Yeah, well then they rented it. So
can you say how much they rented it for?
I can't say.
Damn it!
But Preston Tucker, the guy that started the company, he started the company and he sold it. He did like pre-sales on it before they bought it, and he sold 50 of them to raise money because he saw. I can't remember his name. I wish I remember the name. There was a guy back in the 40s that was doing that with houses. It was kind of like these manufactured homes now, but he would pre-sell them, so he wasn't putting his own capital on the line to build all these houses. Preston Tucker saw it, and he's like, we'll do that with cars, because I have this idea for this car. Pre-sold 50, started to build them, and then the big 3, Dodge, Chevy, and Ford, came after him because they were
This
threatened.
sounds so familiar.
It's a great movie. Jeff Bridges is in it. I can't remember who else, but go watch it. Everybody go watch it. It's an awesome story.
Yeah. I'll throw the cover up.
Yeah.
On the
Long
screen
story
so you can
short,
see
they
it.
took him to court for fraud because they thought he wasn't building the cars. So he had to crank out 50 of them to prove he was legit.
Yeah.
And the coolest part about that, but also the pain when you're trying to fix it and work on it, is things like the carburetor or the distributor or like alternators, well, generator back then.
Yeah.
Is that they just pulled parts off the shelf that they had to get them running. So it wasn't like one alternator fit everything. So we're like, okay, we have to now go back. And we found a guy that specializes in old cars in Atlanta, and he had paper catalogs that we were able to identify which components were which. And we actually we actually hired him to come out for some things to calibrate the distributor and rebuild the carburetor. And I mean, he's an expert. Wow. That's another guy that just like surround yourself with those people.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So they shot him down. The business never took off, and those were the only ones ever made.
Man.
And the ones in the movie are the actual original ones. No, but it's a pretty tight-knit group. I mean, they're very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So you're not seeing them at car shows. You won't. Yeah. You'll see them mostly in museums.
Up in a penthouse of a billionaire, you know.
They're just tucked away, and they're taken care of. So it was really cool to be able to drive it, work on it, see it, and just mind-bending.
If you've seen the movie, drop a comment and tell me what you think about it.
Yeah, very good.
That's crazy.
Would highly suggest it.
I really feel like I've seen that. That sounds so familiar.
No, you may have.
Because I took auto shop in high school and stuff, so we would watch movies like that every once in a while. Damn. Okay, so all right, so back to the film stuff. What would you say the worst car or situation you had to go through working with this so far?
The same car.
Oh, the same one? Really?
What was one of them? Old cars are finicky, and then especially those, you can't compare a value of a car to the quality of a car. And in this case, it's not because it was poorly built. It's just because of that specific situation.
Yeah.
And again, going through what he went through, having to crank him out just to prove he wasn't a criminal. And then now they're, 70 years old, 67 years old. Awesome at math, by the way. There was a night we had to use it, and I had to pull it for a scene, and somebody get out, and it wouldn't start.
Oh,
so that was actually when we brought the expert in.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I had an ambulance blow up, not on purpose. That was before the day we were actually filming. Luckily, this is old van, and used some starter fluid, just some.
Yeah.
Started it, cranked it, wasn't starting, checking stuff. And if you've ever seen nitrous backfire, that's what happened with plastic airbox that then disappeared into fragments and caught on fire. So
Jesus.
Luckily, I had a fire extinguisher. We put it out and we got it fixed in time.
You got it fixed?
Yeah, it was not that great.
Holy shit.
I've had better experiences.
Dude. I would love to just follow along one day and just see how the process goes.
Yeah,
because it seems unique.
It is.
And how long you been doing it?
About 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Well, it's called picture cars. That side of it I've only been doing for about a year.
Okay.
Before that, I was doing some building fabrication for special equipment that was used with film. So it's still kind of in the same realm, but different job title.
Damn. What else can you tell me about it? Because I want to ask, but I don't.
What's your best experience with a podcast?
Dude, I'll probably say Kevin. Kevin's podcast. They were fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know. He came drinking one of those tomato drinks.
Oh yeah.
And dude, he
Clamato?
was. Yeah, he was already a little tipsy or whatever the fuck. He was being Kevin. Do you know Kevin?
I know Kevin.
Okay, so you know Kevin then.
Yeah.
You know how he acts. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
Even more. That was probably the best experience recording a podcast.
That was the first podcast I watched that you did. I'm not super close with Kevin or Josh.
Yeah.
But they're at Midpond all the time. They're super cool guys.
They're just
Never-
goofy.
Yeah, never been to any of their events that they throw, but they're great guys to be around.
Oh yeah. Well, cool. So the crew chief stuff. Let's get into that.
Yeah.
So how did you become his crew chief? Is it
Luck,
stressful?
chance.
I'm sure it is.
I love it. I mean, I again, cliche to say, but I like to thrive under pressure. I like to thrive under pressure. I don't always. So I'm not going to puff my chest out and be like, yeah, anything I do that's hard or stressful is fun, because it's not.
Mm-hmm.
But I met Adam and the team back in 2019, I believe. It was back before Donut was involved. Adam actually works with Donut. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
But he does a lot of their technical producing, I think is his job. I don't know.
Oh, cool.
Sorry, Adam.
One of
met him
those
in-
techie jobs.
Yeah. Well, he's really hands-on. It's really cool. So when they do their projects, he'll get to go find the cars and get the parts and, you know, set all of it up, make sure that part of it runs smoothly. And if it's something of his expertise, he'll help with the builds. If you've seen the shows,
Yeah.
he's on the channel a lot. He's super skilled mechanically, super smart, on the ball with, you know, lists and tasks. So he's killing it over there. He's really enjoying it.
I really respect what Donut Media's created.
Mm.
It's more like Mr. Beast content. It's very strategic, and I can't consume that type of content very well.
Yeah.
But I like the 350Z thing they did, where they built two different ones, the nice parts versus
the
I
high-low series.
I ate that one up.
Yeah.
That was
the high-low
good
series is one
series.
of my favorites. I like that because this goes into why I love automotive and drifting in general.
Mm-hmm.
You get the guys that cut their springs and, like, you know, put some cheap wheels on and they're like freaking loving it. They're just loving life. And then you got the guys that build their car to the hills and they're mad because something broke or they hit a wall or
Every
they didn't
time
drive
they
well.
go out. Yeah.
You know, and that goes back to ego. And I don't condone cutting springs. I think it's unsafe. I think it's bad for the car, but you know, I've done it. I've been young and just wanted to skip.
If you got
this
back
step.
problems, you know why.
Yeah, exactly. I had a Civic. I got in a trade that I would literally hit my head on the roof on the interstate because it was just so bouncy.
No. That happened to me one time. I was in a 2016 Mazda 3 and I was on Racelands.
Yeah.
And driving down 840.
Mhm.
You ever driven down that
Mhm.
highway? Oh my god, dude. It used to be horrible.
Yeah.
Every little bridge there was, it's like almost a foot drop.
Hitting the whoops.
Yeah. Yeah, you just boom, boom. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, all good. All good. I love those stories. But I don't remember where I was going with it. But yeah, just to me it's just enjoying the process, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I tell you, the most miserable I have been in my life, there was two cars back to back. The first one was actually the same BMW I have now.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've had 25 or 30 of these 5 Series. I just love them. It was my first car. I don't know. It's what I learned to work on cars. It's, you know, you do all the teenager stuff in it.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go.
But I had purchased it. It was the first time in my life years ago that I had the money to do things correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And I built it exactly how I would have built it if I was 18. And I'm like gawking over these parts on the forums or eBay or whatever. I built it over the course of a year. Every nut and bolt was touched, everything brand new, clean, started it, ran great, you know, got it good, drove it for the first time. And I was just depressed. So I was like, that's it. I'm done.
It's just underwhelming.
It's not it's just, I enjoyed the process of doing things correctly.
Okay.
So I remember I went home that night and I had sleep for dinner, and I cried myself to sleep, and, you know, not literally, maybe.
Cheers to that.
But I did the same thing like a year later with my 350Z. LS swap, GK Tech angle, I think it was BC coilovers. I mean, just everything you'd want. Just threw it on there, full chase base catalog, everything. Same thing. I was just like, whatever.
Just join that dude. I think that translates because with the content world, nobody really cares to watch driving.
Yeah.
They like to watch the car being built
I
the
agree.
most. And that's always been weird to me because I'll put Elator on YouTube.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so he just makes like final bout cinematic videos,
Mhm.
weird titles, and it's just like a background video,
Yeah.
like stuff you just put on if you're just doing something and you're not really paying attention
Mhm.
to. Always put that on if that's the case.
Yeah.
So like I can't understand. And I'll sit there and watch the entire thing too. If I just want to sit there and watch one,
Yeah.
because there's some cool ass cars and nice driving, cool tandems. But I'll actually get bored watching the build.
Yeah.
Sometimes, depending on what they're doing. If
Mhm.
they're doing something that I don't really know how to do, I'm a little intrigued because
Mhm.
I want to learn how.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how my brain works.
Well, David Patterson, that dude in blue touched on it when you had him on
Yeah.
with the car shows. It's the
Mhm.
same thing over and over. It's like, yeah, it's cool. It's great. But that's not what holds attention. And I think it's people living vicariously through these
Yeah.
YouTubers that are building these cool cars. But I mean, I don't know how I would act in that situation because I don't have the personality to do YouTube. But these guys that have made it are just building every dream car they've got.
Yeah.
But I think it's back to like,
But it's all a tax write-off, and that people don't understand. Like that's why they're doing that. They have the ability to do that.
Which is why I never pursued a lot of certain things I'm good at, because every time I started a business with a hobby, I hated it.
Yeah.
Because you lose interest in.
I do agree with that. I actually love creating vlogs. That's what I started off creating content. And apologies, I haven't put one out in several weeks, but
I look every night. Dang
it. That's one of the best things to create, but that's my job too. I'm creating vlogs for people nonstop, and the last thing I want to do is create my own.
But you don't watch videos of people creating vlogs.
I do.
Actually creating them?
Oh, well, okay, that's fair. Sorry. Not actually creating.
No, yeah. No. And I think people are different too, so they can enjoy things that I don't enjoy. Like I thought I was going to be a professional photographer when I was a teenager, and I love photography, but I started shooting weddings, and that was miserable.
Yeah, that's one thing I refuse to do.
I hated
that in real estate.
I hated it. I hated the job title in those situations because it put that level of stress. And don't let that take away from if you want to do these things, because that's not what I'm saying. Just for me personally, I enjoyed learning and pursuing a skill set or a business a lot greater than a natural talent being utilized to make money. Because it's like exploiting yourself.
So the way I would comprehend that is I will see a lot of different ways to, whether it's make money or put a part on this way or this part versus that part.
I'll say for me,
I love to learn new stuff.
Exactly.
I don't know what that's why I preach the YouTube University thing. I love to learn new things. If it looks intriguing, I will like push everything to the side, dive headfirst into it, figure it out,
Absolutely.
and then once I have the basics figured out, I'm like, okay, this is kind of boring now.
Well, to me, it's the difference. It's the difference in attention from something and the pride in doing whatever that thing is. And that's why I think that social media is wonderful, but it's a necessary evil because people use it for attention. Now you see guys pouring their heart and soul into a business, whether it's creating content or, a lawn care service that they have. Obviously that's not as interesting.
Yeah.
But you'll see guys that have a brodozer with underglow and like freaking lifted all the way to the sky have like 50 to 100,000 followers on Instagram. And then your buddy that's sweating his butt off in the summer to grow this business he's passionate about have like 200.
Yeah.
And obviously content versus content, it's not as interesting, but the comparison is that, it's all about that immediate, dopamine release. Like, oh, that's a cool car. Or, oh, that's, a cool song in the background.
Yeah. Everyone's attention span's so short.
Yeah.
You can just easily swipe past something now. So, dude, oh my God, I can ramble on and on about that shit.
Well, the learning is huge though. I was up until 4:30 this morning watching a YouTube channel called Smarter Every Day. you seen this guy? He's in Alabama.
Yeah.
He's
I've heard of that.
Him and Adam Savage. He was from Mythbusters. Their
Uh-huh.
YouTube channels are like drugs to me because they're so passionate about. Adam Savage is big on organization, so he'll build a shelf or like a cabinet for his lathe bits and his tooling.
Nice.
He'll build it just exactly how he wants everything organized. And the whole time he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do. Oh, what if I put a drawer?" And he's like so excited.
Yeah,
dude, I want to be that excited about anything. But the guy from
man,
I watched probably like a 30-minute long video this morning, among other ones that he did on Smarter Every Day about crop irrigation and how they build those big sprinkler systems. And I'm just like, huh. It's like, I'll never use that.
That's the YouTube rabbit holes,
I'll
man.
never use that. But
how'd you ever even come across that channel? Just shove it to you randomly?
Actually, I know the answer to that. Years ago, when I got the Camaro from my granddad, he passed away, and I was able to purchase it and retain it for me and hopefully my future family.
Yeah.
I have never worked on carbureted vehicles before that, and I want to keep the car exactly how he built it in the late 70s, and it has the original Holley carburetor that he put on it.
Yeah.
Not original to the car, but the original one that he installed aftermarket.
Gotcha.
So I'm researching carburetors. I kind of generally know how they work, the Venturi effect and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And at Smarter Every Day, had a video on how carburetors and the Venturi effect works. He has this acrylic carburetor, so you can see everything going on. And it's slow-mo, very high frame rate. You can see the fuel, the air coming in. They ran smoke through it. And then they had fuel coming out of the bowl up through the needle. And you could see, I don't know what frame rate it was, but enough to see a bullet. The fuel coming in, the air catching it, and then the atomization.
Damn,
into
that's crazy.
And it's just, I don't know, it's beautiful to me.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd.
Well, see, is it like Scotty D is an engineer, so he showed me this video one time about how the pattern of combustion in an engine is what relays the actual sound. And there's this dude that's an engineer on YouTube who's not like creative videos or anything, but he'll literally take this little tapper thing, which it's just tapping noises, and he'll put them in the sequence of an engine or whatever engine. He'll label it and everything. And as it gets fast, the RPMs get faster and faster and faster. It sounds identical to every single engine he does.
That's true.
I was like, man, dude, stuff like that just blows my mind.
So this you may already know this, but it may blow your mind. The 787B, the 4-rotor race car. Back in the day, a good friend of mine built a pretty popular 4-rotor car, and I was always over there because he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys you just always want to be around. David Mazzei.
Tell him to come help me with mine.
Yeah, no, he totally would. He's the greatest guy. He's super passionate, energetic about it, and he started doing the research on it. He had his original FD 2-rotor. 20B swapped it to the 3-rotor 20B.
Sick.
Sold that, got this new chassis, wanted to build a 4-rotor. He goes down this rabbit hole, and every day our shops were right next to each other. Excuse me. Every day I was like, dude, check this out. He's like, done all this research. Well, the 787B was a naturally aspirated rotary.
Okay.
And the trumpets on the ITBs telescoped. And they engineered it to do that, to counteract the reverberation of the engine to make it run smoother. And so that's why you get that high-pitched, old school F1.
Yeah.
Just that scream. It wasn't raspy. It wasn't baritone. It was just this nice crisp because the intake runners actually telescoped in and out based on RPM and speed.
Wow, that's fascinating.
So, yeah, and he... get the car running. He takes it, gets the exhaust manifold made. No, I'm sorry. He had an exhaust manifold made and shipped to him. He started it up. It was running great. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
And
of course.
He's like, it doesn't sound like a 787B. And I was like, dude, what? Like this, we should be going
Sounds gnarly, bro. What?
We should be going and having beers right now. Like this is, it's freaking running, man. I mean, I was just like pouring sweat from stress and excitement.
Yeah, of course.
And he's bummed. It doesn't sound like I want to sound. So he took it off. He had a guy locally, Walker Morgan in Birmingham, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal fabricator. Blows my mind. He's one of those guys. He makes something, you're just like, what? How?
Yeah.
How did you do that? And
It shouldn't be natural.
Yeah, he's also a great guy. But he remade it, made a true equal length manifold for it. This was a turbo car, so it was a turbo manifold. And the math involved in how he made that, because David took it there with, like, this is what I want.
Yeah.
And this sheet of paper and like all this napkin sketch stuff.
Oh God.
And he could listen to a frequency. Like he had an app on his phone where you could type in a frequency and play it. And he's like, that's 5,000 RPMs. And then he's like, go on YouTube and, look it up.
Yeah.
We'd do it. It was identical. So it's just blows my mind.
Oh, that stuff's so cool.
Yeah. Those kind of guys, man. Another two guys that I know that I wish I was around more and could spend more time just learning and absorbing everything they're doing. And go follow Zach. I call him David and Zach.
Yeah.
He's building an SLC kit car, which is very commonly LS with a 5-rotor. So it's going to be,
oh, wow.
I want to say the first turbo 5-rotor street car.
I've never heard of one, so.
Yeah. It's all custom.
You got, what's his name, building that fucking 20-rotor or whatever the hell.
Oh,
yeah.
Rob Dom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Rob's another great
insane.
guy. He's on West Coast. He's actually from Michigan. But we got to meet him when we took the original 4-rotor to a machine shop up there that specialized in that kind of stuff. Rotors. Chip Ursu. I can't remember his company name. Very skilled guy. And the difference, like, you watch people on YouTube and you have this persona of who they are, and then you meet them.
Oh,
you realize
yeah.
they're real people or celebrities or like musicians, whoever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's so grounding to meet those people as people, to see what they're doing and just, bounce ideas back and forth. And it's like, you might have a competitive nature and maybe even get to the point of not saying with him specifically, just in general, like animosity almost.
Mm-hmm.
And then you meet him and you're just like, dude, we love the same stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's also cool when you do see that. Like, my best example is Jimmy Oaks. When I just met him in New Jersey at Riverside, and it was kind of cool meeting him when he already kind of knew who I was.
Yeah.
But like, what you see on camera is what you get in person.
Yeah.
Like, that's just Jimmy. He's hilarious.
He seems rad.
But
he's actually one of the few like vlog car guys that he's the only vlog style car channel that I regularly pay attention to.
Yeah.
Because he seems like a good guy.
Oh yeah. And he's got like Spoon and all the cool characters involved with it.
And that's the thing, like this is something that I'd say about Adam Knafik all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a lot of other drivers, and I wouldn't want to do it.
Yeah. It's
largely to do with Adam and his attitude. We've gone through a lot of mechanical issues in the last 2 years. And this past event in St. Louis was really the first event in like 2 years that we didn't have anything mechanically that we had to pursue or address.
Yeah.
Last year, there were 3 different engines in that car. It was an engine per race last year. And
that's rough, man.
It's just one of those things. It was the same engine he'd run for years, and it was reliable, and no changes were made. It just got tired, and it didn't owe him anything.
Yeah.
But, that motor pops, and I know I'd be mad, I'd be upset, I'd be pissed, and he's just like, man, that's what it is. Like, He's already on the phone ordering parts or like talking to people. Or St. Louis last year was a freaking heartbreaker. I don't remember who was up against. It was on our follower lead, but I don't remember. It was the second run, and that's when the engine blew up.
Gotcha.
So we're out, right?
Yeah.
Whoever it was finishes the race, and they had an incomplete after we blew the engine up. So we won the round.
Yeah.
But our engine's blown up. And that was last year we did.
Fuck.
Yeah. They did, I think it was top 16 the second day.
Okay.
So we had overnight to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Tow truck comes, drops it at the freaking trailer. Me and the guys are tearing into it, starting to pull the engine out. We don't have a spare.
Right there on the ground.
I mean, just right there, like just tearing it all apart, trying to get it together before tomorrow. And it wasn't until like 2 a.m. that we just couldn't find another one. Like Facebook, Craigslist, eBay, calling everywhere. We couldn't find one. And so Adam called it, but his attitude is fantastic. So that's two things about that. As a leader, have that good attitude so you have good people. Yeah. And then as a good person, learn from that and then become that for somebody else. And that's how I kind of transitioned into the crew chief spot. Because the guy that was the crew chief last year, I've only been with him 2 years. He just, for personal reasons, nothing wrong. Everybody's still buds. He just couldn't do it this year. And by elimination, I kind of stepped into it.
Yeah.
But, you know, just even those few events I did with him last year is like, okay, that's how he wants the team run. And I try every time we go out every day until we get back to the hotel or Airbnb. And even then, if I'm around the guys, represent myself in a way that he would, to be a reflection of, you know, that's how we want to be. We want to be in unison together, be friends with each other, have good attitudes, and that's how you're productive. And that's ultimately, you know, I feel really good about next year because everything's brand new on the car now.
Yeah.
And Adam can actually drive the car now. He's a really, really talented driver.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so what changes did y'all like whenever from last year to this year? Like the most adamant changes you had to make sure were going to be made
on the car?
Yeah.
At the beginning of the season, everything was brand new except for the chassis.
Literally everything.
Literally everything. And
holy
actually,
shit.
I'm in Atlanta. Adam's in LA, so
okay.
He did everything over the you know in between seasons. Like I said, he's super talented, mechanical, and he's a good driver. He's just, if he could clone himself like 6 times and that would be his team, he'd be like, you know, he'd
unstoppable.
He'd be right there. But everything was brand new.
Oh yeah. Okay, so diving in a little deeper to the crew chief stuff. So what have you noticed is like kind of your most important role during events or even off?
Just the flow, the overall flow, I would say is even watching drifting since almost the very beginning, you don't watch an event and you see what all the team is doing. So you get there early, you know, sometimes 2 or 3 days in advance, and there's stuff to do all day, every day. And a lot of guys are into it. They're ambitious, but they just don't know the flow.
Yeah.
So you have to organize that. Your driver needs to focus on driving. So the less he has to be mechanically involved with the car or dictating what needs to be done to the guys, the better for his performance and focus. And that's not how every team operates. You'll see a lot of guys that are drivers, especially in competition timeouts, jumping in and helping work on the car.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I mean, that's nothing against that whatsoever. And Adam would absolutely do the same thing if we weren't capable of doing, well, that sounds bad. Not implying those teams
that's
have
fair,
that.
Yeah.
But if situation presented itself for any team and the driver is doing that, that's awesome. If they aren't and they're sitting in the car and their team takes care of it, that's awesome. Whatever works for the flow of that. But your schedule from start to finish is really determining of your overall outcome. And if you miss a window, then, you know, you screw around the first day and you just drink and cut up with your buddies and you don't prep the car. And then you go to practice and you're like, oh, well, we didn't get our tires mounted.
Yeah.
Or we don't have fuel, or, you know, oil, whatever it is. Then you're taking time away from your driver being able to get comfortable on the track conditions. And obviously, you know, Adam's driven all the tracks many times, but just getting that muscle memory back is important. Getting your focus as a driver, getting your flow with your spotter and your mechanics. And, you know, that super important to be on the ball with your time frames. So leadership, management, keeping the guys fed, you know, hydrated. I'm like the mom of the group. I got liquid IVs in my backpack. I'm like, you guys hydrate, awesome. Drink some water. You're like, we need to get food. All right. I'm going to Uber eat some stuff, or like, you know, whoever's not doing anything, you know, Uber eat some food or get something good. Don't get some crap, like get some healthy food, you know. Band-Aids, A&D ointment for your cuts. I'll be there. Wipe.
Shit.
Get a little something on your lip there, buddy. Okay.
Okay, so what all crew members do y'all have, and what are their, I guess, jobs per se? Because I've talked to several people, and one thing like my buddy Wes has found very important is just to have extras, like just randoms. So like people to go and take wheels and tires to go get changed, just to do the oddball stuff.
Yeah.
What kind of jobs do y'all have designated in the crew, I guess?
Specifically in our situation, we have Jason is our spotter. He's been with Adam for a long time. He is a professional driving coach in Vegas. He does a lot of off-road racing, the Met, the Baja, all that stuff.
Hell yeah.
So he's got an off-road background. He's fantastic. He's been drifting for a long time, been racing for even longer. And then we got me.
Sorry, I got people here mowing.
You should see his grass. It's like,
it's not.
Something.
He's exaggerating.
I think it's Dawson.
They come every 2 weeks.
I would have brought my machete if I didn't know.
Yeah, he had to whack his way through with his pocket knife.
I have 4-wheel drive. We're okay. The rest of the guys are fairly new. We had again, nothing. There's nobody that's been with the team that's no longer welcome. To my knowledge, there's no animosity. I've never heard anybody talked badly about. But everyone now is fairly new just because people had to step off and do different things.
Mm-hmm.
But let's see. Aaron Mays, he has a shop in California, Mays Performance. He's a fantastic mechanic. He's just mechanic kind of side of stuff. And then Carlos, I forget his last name. He just stepped on this past year or this past event. He's got a Mopar shop in Georgia, in the Atlanta area. He does the craziest Mopar stuff. Like you see these demons and Hellcats, and you're like, dude, those are badass. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, well, we're gonna amplify that times like 3. And he's just got this secret sauce he puts on everything, fabricates, dyno tunes.
Yeah.
We got hooked up with him after the last engine blew up, and we had the LSX we're running this year rebuilt. Okay. And we took it to him to dyno tune it. Link ECU hooked us up with him, and I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on the guy that actually did the tuning.
Oh,
yeah. Forrest from Link ECU, I believe, was the one that hooked up those guys with us. And he's just like, he came from drag racing, and he's been into drifting, but he came out to event, and he's just been like, he's with us every event now.
Yeah.
He loves it. He's just on the ball about everything. And yeah, super happy to have all those guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty much it. We have a guy, Oscar, that's hopped on with media this year. Officially, unofficially. He's freaking awesome. He's one of those guys, it doesn't matter what you hire him for. That is always a step above what you want them to be doing.
Yeah.
He's always thinking ahead. He's always exactly where he needs to be. He's also super into drifting. He's got a JZ S13, I think. 2J, maybe?
Sick.
So he's just
love the JZs around here, man.
Yeah, he's just living it. So just honorable mention. I'll say that.
Yeah.
He's a great dude.
Who would you say is, for any crew, what is the most important position to have? I know that's kind of hard to say because you need multiple pieces.
It's easy to answer. It's hard to. It's hard to. That's not the right question.
That's fair.
Sorry.
Okay. What question should I ask instead then?
No, I like the question, but I'm not going to answer it specifically. Everyone's task is important.
Well, yeah.
If you hire a guy and all he does is, like you said, take the wheels to get mounted, or the tires to get mounted on the wheels, that's a simple task.
Yeah.
You hop on the golf cart of the truck, you take them to tire stacks. Tire stacks is amazing, by the way. If they don't do it because they're texting their girlfriend or like on Tinder, like seeing who's in the area, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
You go out to comp, you take 5 minutes out of your day to go do your job, and that screws you because you don't have tires.
Yep.
And that's a terrible way to go out. So everyone's important. I mean, it would be definitely hard to answer that because it would be unfair to say anybody's on a higher spot on the totem pole
No, the only reason I ask is because I do have a lot of viewers of people that aren't fully into drifting. They're looking to get into it, and it's kind of hard to comprehend at a level that high how everything works and coexists and everything. So I ask that just so that people can kind of see what happens behind the scenes of FD. I feel like it keeps them a little bit more intrigued on it too.
Well, to add benefit to your question in that regard, I would say if you're interested in it, go to events and talk to the teams. That's one thing I love about FD is, you know, Pro Spec does their thing, and then while Pro's going, we're there just presenting ourselves for the fans.
Yeah.
I love fans. I love it when kids come up, especially, and they want to like take a picture with the car or they want to autograph. Like, I'm nobody. You don't want my autograph. Get Adam's autograph, which obviously he signs a lot of them. But go talk to the teams. If I talked to a kid in New Jersey who's building custom chassis for circle track cars, like dirt circle track, which is something I completely disregarded, thinking it was just kind of crap. Like you're going around a circle, you just whatever. Those chassis are insane. The way that they're built. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're not flat because they're on a cambered track and they're always going the same way. And they're kind of skating that line of traction and grip to be the fastest around the track. They've literally got a chain, and then it's called a J-bar. So if you've ever seen an FD or like a Miata that has the power plant frame that joins the diff to the rear axle, imagine that, but on the front side of it, like halfway up the car, it's on a pivot, so it moves with the rear axle, and it's got a chain as a limiting strap to keep it from going out of their spec.
Wow.
So when they go tune a track, if it's super wet or if it's super, it's never dry, but if it's drier, or if it's got more of a bank than another track, or if it's rough, whatever it is they're tuning in, they adjust all that. And they adjust caster.
Dude, that's so crazy. Literally
on set bolts. Unbolt, they've got little shims they put in to do like track width, and it's just crazy. If you're interested in cars, never downplay any form of racing. Go see what it's about, because you can learn from them and maybe apply it to what you're doing in your line of work or industry. They have tunable steering racks in those cars, which is super common, and people that know dirt track are like, they're laughing at us.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm ignorant when it comes to motorsports.
It wasn't until like a year ago that I sat in a really good friend of mine that I work with. He's been doing that his whole life, but the steering racks, you can adjust dampening and ratio.
Dude, that's so sick.
And it's all fluid driven. It's got a shaft, but it's all, the adjustments all how the fluid flows through.
Man,
it's really cool.
Have you seen anyone try and incorporate that into drifting?
Well, per spec or tech, you can't.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
that's fair.
We'll see how the pro spec and pro, and if there's some sort of actual spec establishment, which I think would be really cool to incorporate. We'll see how that goes, but. Like the rule change in Pro Spec or Pro 2, whenever it was, to do only factory steering columns. It's just to give the fair advantage in that being a budget thing.
Yeah.
And we've seen how vast Pro Spec has gotten versus the previous years in budget and car builds. And I think it was a good move. It was kind of off-putting at first because you got to do changes to the car.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the guys running FD, they freaking on it. I mean, we're thinking about next year. They're like 10 years ahead.
Oh yeah.
So
I could definitely tell from whenever I interviewed Sage.
Yeah.
That man's smart as shit.
Oh yeah. Him and Aaron Losey. I would listen to them all day long about.
That's one person I need to get on. He's already agreed to.
Aaron Losey and Ryan Sage both are on that level for me of their knowledge and their projection of where they want to be currently versus other people is astounding. Like those kind of guys will bring up things you'll never think about ever, and you're like, oh my god. I remember, I think it was LZ. It was at SEMA one year, and he had a video, and he's walking around with Aaron Losey, and he said something about the 2JZ, and this is before he released to anybody that he was doing FD.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the specifics of it, but he's like, "Oh, I'm running that in the drift car." And Aaron was like, "Why?" And Adam was like,
"What do you mean?"
Because it's the best. It's nice. It's
yeah.
Why wouldn't I run that? He's like, "Yeah, but it's this amount of money. Does your budget incorporate for 3 of those?" And you could see in Adam's face, he's like, and obviously he's got it figured out now.
Yeah.
Like, he's doing really well. But I didn't think about that, and it makes you think like, oh, okay, well, maybe it is better. Everybody knows LSs, so let's use that as an example.
Yeah.
Maybe it is better to run a stock 6.0 iron block for a few seasons and get experience under my belt and have a spare engine or budget for other better parts than it is to go out and spend, X amount of money on a built LSX or a dart block and fully build it.
Yeah.
You never know.
I have no interest in ever running comp, but I'll always, you could look back in all the other episodes, I'll always say, if I ever built a comp car, it would be LS just because of the convenience, the cheapness factor, parts availability. Like,
you go to Walmart and buy a crank.
Exactly. I don't suggest that.
Need spark plugs, go to 7-Eleven.
Well, you can buy fucking heads from O'Reilly's.
Yeah.
Or I think it's heads.
Yeah. Yeah, well, at least factory stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, aftermarket.
Crazy.
TJ Hunt is another good example of that. Everybody knows TJ Hunt. Very successful on YouTube. Yeah. Been very progressive in his skill in driving. He got a lot of hate when he was doing... You go look at anybody's first videos when they put them out, and they're going to be gooby. Yeah. Anybody. It doesn't matter.
Go look at mine.
Definitely go look at his.
Be leery.
But he got a lot of hate for it. It's like, well, this spoiled kid, he's like from California and blah, blah, blah. He's just throwing money around and building all these air ride stance cars. And then he got into drifting and it's like, oh, you must be nice. I hate that term. Must be nice.
Yeah.
Must be nice to what? You don't know what they did the last 5-10 years. You don't know what their life has been consistent of. There are spoiled people in the world, but don't judge people based on that.
And speaking on TJ, he gets a lot of hate just in general for his content. And I personally, like, I can't really watch his content. I'll watch it every once in a while if it's super interesting, but he has a lot younger audience, so he has to have that childishness kind of factor to it, to where the really weird, like, the kind of annoying jokes to me. But
when did we start chastising
so fucking much of what he's done in his YouTube? Like, what's it, like 8 years, 9 years now that he's been creating content on that one channel? I mean, he's built some crazy shit and he's made his life. Yeah. Like, look at the fucking house he has up on the hills.
I mean, good for him, man.
That's crazy. Fuck any of y'all that give him hate, dude. That's just dumb.
It's within everyone's opinion and their capabilities in life to not pay attention to certain people.
Yeah.
Like, you don't necessarily watch his videos just because it's not really what you're interested in.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I've known you for a little bit and you're just always busy working. So you're not taking time out of your day to watch these videos. It's just, there's no filler there for you. Mr. Beast is a guy that I don't really watch, but I admire as a businessman. And he was on, I forget which podcast it was, one of these bigger ones. And he was like, what movies do you like to watch? Like, what are your favorite movies? And he's like, I've actually never seen a movie fully. And he's like, what? Never in your life? He's like, I just think it's a waste of time. Yeah. I never even listened to music until I was like 21. And you could tell he's been serious.
Yeah. So
I don't know. Whenever we started chastising people for innocence, TJ's personality is just a happy, it's that innocence.
It's bubbly personality.
Childlike enjoyment in what he's doing. But to get back to my point, I think it was actually Aaron Losey that responded to somebody in a conversation. And he said, it might not have been Aaron. He was like, yeah, money doesn't buy skill. Because the guy said money doesn't buy skill. Yeah, money doesn't buy skill. But it buys tires.
Yeah.
And if you have the mindset that you want to be at this level and you're right where everybody else is starting, but you have more money, it doesn't matter where you got the money. If your attitude's good, dude, good on you. Use that money to get to the level that you want to get to.
God, dude. Yes.
So
it's like,
screw the hate.
Even with the whole daddy's money bullshit too. Even same thing there. Like if their mindset's in the right place,
I'll say it
who
20 more
cares?
times. Attitude.
Let them use daddy's money.
Attitude.
I
is
would
all
be
it is.
fucking doing that if I had the opportunity.
That's where I would say to myself, must be nice. It's like I have great parents. Nothing to say bad about my upbringing or anything like that. But we didn't have that kind of money. We weren't poor.
Yeah,
you know?
I wouldn't trade any of it either.
Hell no. But to see somebody's dad who may have worked their butt off their entire life and grinded and neglected certain parts of being in the child's life to provide a good life for them monetarily and make them comfortable. Yeah. They never went to bed hungry, miserable, sweating because their AC doesn't work. You know, they were in nice cars driving around, or like any car, not walking.
Yeah.
Dude, respect. I respect the hell out of that. But it's, again, attitude. Attitude. I think I have 13 more left out of the 20. You know, respect is earned, not given. And my personal opinion on meeting anyone, whether it's someone you don't know or a friend or a girlfriend, or give them respect until they don't deserve it. If they give you a reason to disrespect them, then that's your opinion. But the most important part to that,
because I've always, tell me if I'm wrong, I've always hated the term of earning respect. Earning respect. I always thought that was silly. It's like, why wouldn't you from the jump show everyone respect? And if they show you not to give it to them,
I think it's situational. I'm my personality is to respect you until you don't deserve it. But
respect is given until proven not to.
I would say the only thing I have to not correct you, but kind of shed more light on is, you know, let's say some kid gets out of high school, he starts working a job, and just I'm not being respected. It's like, well, you haven't been in the trenches yet. You haven't gotten the dirt on your hands. Yeah. You haven't bled. You haven't sweat. So it's not a respect in, I'm just going to like throw you in the mud and stomp all over you. But it's not the respect that, you know, the 20-year veterans have, because they've been through things you couldn't even dream of.
Yeah, exactly.
Depending on what job or situation it is. So I agree with you, but that would be my exception.
No, I totally agree. Well, so if someone wanted to kind of get into being a crew chief or just following any type of line of work you've gotten yourself into, what would be your best advice for those people, I guess?
The guy that does the dirt track stuff that I work with, he told me, he's the one that got me in the film industry.
Yeah.
There were 2 questions I asked him before the first time I went on set. What's like one tool you can't be without? Make sure I have it. And overall, what's your advice in like progressing in that position? And he told me a power probe for electrical stuff, which I use every day. Every day. And make yourself uncomfortable. Don't get comfortable.
Explain that a little deeper, though.
Let's say you've done podcasts for 10 years and you're just sitting pretty. Like you're making whatever amount you can pay your bills. You got your car you're building. You got a nice daily, whatever. That's where you make the decision to go to the next step or to be complacent and stay that level.
Yeah.
So your subscribers are watching the same stuff over and over and over and over. Eventually they'll get bored. But, and I see this in you push yourself. So you're making yourself uncomfortable, making the dive to do this, you know, moving into full time, which I would laugh at and say you probably do full time, but you have other stuff you do on the side.
Yeah. Well,
time wise,
it probably does equate to this being more full time than anything.
Time wise. Yes.
Yeah.
So that may be making yourself uncomfortable with cash. You know, I'm going to invest 90% of my money into, you know, a new couch or like better lighting or better cameras or production value as a whole. You've made yourself uncomfortable to go to the next step. And that's what dictates the people that are just good and the people that 10 years from now are going to be way up here. And everyone's like, oh yeah, you're great. I love you.
I wish I would have hopped on that train.
Yeah. Jeff Bezos, you know, Elon Musk, guys that are that level, don't do anything else. I don't want to be that level personally.
I mean, just look at like their houses. I mean,
Yeah.
you were talking about Mr. Beast. He lives in a room in his warehouse.
Well,
It's a studio apartment.
I think he has a house now, but
yeah. I think well, maybe, I don't know.
On that podcast, he talked about it, and it's actually really interesting the way they structure. He owns multiple businesses now, and they asked him something about his CEO.
Mm-hmm.
How did you pick a CEO? How do you find someone like that wants to run your business the way you want it run?
Train him to be you.
Train him to be you. And he said, well, how do you do that? What's your process in doing that? And he says, he lives in my house.
Mm-hmm.
We're inseparable. I mean, that's their prerogative if they want to live that lifestyle.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd like that, but that's gotten them to that point of being the biggest YouTube channel, like, or best or most successful, whatever you want to put on it.
All of the above,
Of all
probably.
time, right? So that, I think, answers your question about being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Is putting in the work to get whatever level you want out of life.
Yeah.
And to me, I'd say the best advice for the crew chief side of it is networking. You go to events, and I kind of touched on earlier about the fans being able to, you can walk through the paddock. You can walk through
That's one thing I've always loved about drifting.
You can
pits
walk
aren't
up
exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. You can go to everybody that you look up to, and you shouldn't, but you can literally reach out and touch the car. You can be there and talk to the guys. And most of the time the drivers are there. If you're like a huge fan of the driver, ask them questions, ask them what happened to allow you this opportunity? What steps did you take? And I would even go as far as to say, this is me. This is my experience. This is what I want to do. Do you guys even have any opportunity to be involved with your program?
Yeah.
And if they say no, then okay, cool. But you'll never know if you don't ask.
Yeah.
And
bring them a business card.
Give them a business card. Give them your contact info. A lot of the teams are full and set up, and they don't need anybody.
Yeah.
But they're, especially smaller teams, if you can budget it, it's an easy it's an easier schedule, 4 events a year.
Yeah. I would say go to Pro-Am events.
Pro-Am.
Those are going to be the people that are just figuring it out, and they're going to be needing the next guy to fill that position in the crew.
Well, and going to pro spec or pro guys, they may know Pro-Am guys that need people, and they can introduce you. So it's just talking.
Yeah.
If you don't have conversation and you're just sitting in your room waiting for something to fall in your lap, it's never going to happen ever.
Speaking of that, actually, that's how most of my business for media has come about. Like, I don't have a website.
Mm-hmm.
I just use my portfolio. Like, that's all I really need because I've acquired it. I had someone that I haven't even done media for in several months. But he texted me randomly today and said, here's this phone number. His name's this, and this. He's wanting some media done for his shop.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Another job. So, like, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Networking and word of mouth has always been the best source of advertisement.
For sure.
And for anything that I've seen.
But you have to have something to show for it to benefit from it. So if you're a car photographer and you want to get into real estate, you got to start back marketing wise where you started out with the car stuff. But you at least have a portfolio to show them and say, I know how to work the camera.
Yeah, I know how to use the editing software. Yeah. I know how to use the camera. I have the ability.
Networking is huge. I've got a good friend of mine that for 20 years has been doing branding and marketing from a media standpoint. There's video, not really a lot of photography, but he's gotten music videos, big contracts with like Komatsu and Kubota and I don't know, all bigger things. He did marketing videos for OSHA for a long time, like actually OSHA.
Holy shit!
So he'd go and spend weeks in a freaking mine, underground.
Wow!
And film all this stuff for their OSHA standards briefing, like their safety training videos.
That's kind of cool.
And he's, self-made. He's self-taught, but his main skill is he can talk, and you enjoy it. It doesn't matter what it's about. Yeah. He's just a good guy. He's personable, and he puts himself in an uncomfortable position to where now he's gotten into airplanes. He's a pilot, and he's going to these air shows and has ended up starting an airplane detailing product business.
What?
So think chemical guys specifically for airplanes. And it's
Dude, that's so cool.
beautiful packaging.
Wow.
It's, he does all his own media because he's done it forever.
Yeah.
And he's going to all these events and he's like, dude, I met so-and-so. I met this guy. I met this guy. And they're all freaking millionaire, billionaire, like famous, maybe not famous, but in that realm, well-known, respected
You'll start
people.
checking yourself too, being around people like that.
Yeah.
And you'll start realizing when you're acting up, when you're not.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, it's
Because they'll call you out.
it's the lightning moments, man.
Somebody sitting here and they're like, oh, dude, you can do this. I can do the same thing in my stock car as you can with the FT car. No, you can't.
No.
You might be a
Absolutely
great driver,
fucking
but
not.
you're not. You're not here. You're not here. And that's not to say they can't be there. I'm not being negative.
Yeah. Well, okay, so let me ask you this then, because I'm sure I don't want to get into politics, but with the way the world is and how fucking much of a shit show it is, I'm sure a lot of people out there are looking for that way to kind of break away from the system and start their own business or so on and so forth. What would be your advice or your suggestions for anyone that's just trying to make that first step?
In starting a business?
Yeah. Starting a business or taking that leap into a new opportunity they're not too sure about, whatever.
This is a blanket statement. Just do it. You have to have a
Nike.
first step.
Yeah,
Nike. No, not Nike.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
I agree.
The first step is the most important. Like talking to somebody on a team that you want to be a crew chief for, or just want to know how they did it. You will never know if you're good at something or you can be successful in something if you don't try. If you try something and you're bad at it, then you know what you're bad at. I started a business. Well, that company you guys were talking about over COVID got all those orders and then they're flopping now.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was. They're
Which they're actually making kind of a comeback.
Good.
They're
Good for
doing
them.
a lot better now.
I hate to see anybody do poorly, and I would never downplay someone's efforts, but their budget issues killed them.
Yeah.
From what I understand. I don't know much about the situation. If you want my personal experience, when I started my business with the Corvettes and Camaros, it wasn't always Corvettes and Camaros. I had purchased a 2003 Jeep Grand Cherokee from a friend of mine because he blew the engine up and it had a lift kit on it and tires.
Okay.
And I had the same car and I bought it, I don't know, like $500 because I wanted the lift kit. So I put it on my car and then I had this rest of the car sitting around in a 10 by 15 storage unit just crammed in there. And I didn't know what to do with it. At the time, I didn't have a truck. I didn't have a trailer. I wasn't even knowledgeable on the fact that scrapyards would take cars. Like, I knew nothing. So in my process of going through my brain, what do I do with this? And I'm kind of at the same point in life. Like, what do I want to do with my career? I started looking at it and I was like, well, I could, I'll take the alternator off and put it on eBay.
Yeah.
And it sold for like $40 or $30. I was like, I took the
What
power
about this
steering
part?
pump off.
What about this part?
It just snowballed.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I ended up making $500-600. Just screwing around one day, I was on eBay. I saw this G35 sedan in Florida. It was on auction, wrecked in the front. I bid on it, forgot about it. A few days go by, bloop, you won. And I was like, oh crap.
Oh, duh.
So I went and got
another car.
Yeah, I went and got it. And I was like, well, I don't have anywhere to put it.
Yeah.
So it's just those steps. Like it's a boring story to say that your question is very valid in every situation of starting anything out you're unsure of. Just taking the first step, being uncomfortable, testing the waters, and failure is only failure if you decide it is.
Yeah.
When you don't succeed at something, it's not failure if you take a step back and acknowledge the points you did wrong and correct those and try it again.
Yeah. There's been multiple moments in this podcast where it's almost broke me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck it. There's people that want it every week. I'm going to do it.
Dude, you're killing it. Keep going. And that's the same thing. You'll look back on your first Gooby videos that everyone's going to watch and say, I should have done this. I should have done this. And you can mold your future into that. And that's how people become successful in whatever regard they deem that term success.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing I can say.
And I like that you're just saying literally just take the first step, because that's 100% true. In the content world, it's literally just press fucking record for the first time ever. You kind of learn how to create content as you go.
There's no book.
You gain there's no way to kind of tell. I mean, I could watch YouTube video after YouTube video on how to do this strategically to get more views, how to make your thumbnails better to get more views, but you're not being yourself and you're not just doing the job, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
So as you go, you'll start reading the comments. They'll embed it in your head. You won't even know it. And you'll be like, no, I need to do it this way because this one person said this one time, and I think it'll work better that way too. And then you try it and it's perfect. And then it snowballs.
Well, and my favorite saying that kind of contradicts what I said about hobbies being a business is do what you love and the money will come. It's not all about, well, first year in business, I want to make a profit.
Yeah.
You know, most businesses don't profit for 3 or 4 years. It's just typical.
That, dude.
Analytics.
Yes.
That's unimportant. You enjoying what you're doing? You know, if yes, then if no, then follow the train. But
people just come too impatient. They want the fast money.
And that's
fast money, easy job.
The world we live in, as you put it earlier, is very instant. And that's where I think I lost interest in those cars that I built that I didn't enjoy, was that I had the money to build it and I built it. It wasn't like, dude, I used to love those first few BMWs I had because they're not common. They're not like super rare, but they're not common. Just going on the forums and the for sale and being like, oh, that's that bumper I want. You know, that's the wheels I want, because those were never sold here. They were from, you know, Germany back in the 80s or whatever. So cool. And I'm a big antique guy, but I don't go on eBay and buy anything, because if you decide, you know, I want an old sewing machine, okay, I bought one. Yeah. It's like playing video games with cheat codes. It's fun for 5 minutes.
Good way to put it. Yeah.
Like, all right.
Well, that dopamine rush wore off quick.
There's no challenge.
Yeah.
Making yourself uncomfortable, failing, learning, progressing, building yourself how you want to build.
Yeah. Keeps it exciting.
Oh yeah.
I think.
I'd geek out about all that.
Oh, dude, I feel you.
Go on and on.
We could go all day about that, and politics too, but that's staying off the internet.
We do like the Simpsons where they're like, yeah, I'm going to vote.
Yeah.
Just like dump it in. Yeah. We can do that.
If you guys don't know who I'm voting for by now, that's probably,
I'm voting for, myself to be awesome forever.
There we go. I like that. Okay, so this might be kind of this is very generic and broad, but I want to ask it anyway. So if you could choose one simple thing that you've learned out of the entirety of just being around cars, what is the most important thing, and how is it reflected in your life besides cars?
Organization has been huge. Was always a messy kid growing up, dirty room, working on cars, you know, in my parents' garage when I'm a teenager. You just got stuff everywhere. You got to spend 10 minutes clearing a spot to pull like a floor jack around. Is counterproductive to the process, and is counterproductive to your mental state. And the other most important thing is your mental state. So being patient. I mean, I'm the worst at it, just like everybody. You make up curse words when you're working by yourself on a car. You say things that don't exist because you're that mad. But
we all know that.
As time goes on, you get better at it. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I keep saying attitude. I know it's getting repetitive.
No, I mean, it's 100% true though.
Well,
and
it's
the organization thing, like that was super big for me, because I've been in a situation where where I couldn't, like, I would spend the first 30 minutes to an hour looking for a tool just before I even got to start on changing the oil on my car.
Yeah. No.
Because it wasn't my shop. It was, I couldn't do anything about it. But yeah, dude, exactly. Just steam starts coming out.
I was notorious for if I would hire somebody to come help me work in the shop or working on a project, like every 30 minutes, let's do a tool check. Let's put everything back. You got socket rails, you got wrench organizers, your drawers are laid out. And
it's probably something I need to pick up.
Well, when you're trashing a car and you're just ripping parts off and like throwing it inside, you leave a wrench in there and you'll forget about it.
Yeah.
But like you said too, it's especially in a business sense, you're losing time and money looking for a tool. So yeah, organization is huge, and it's definitely, if Adam watches this, he's going to laugh, because that was when I first started with him. Not that he's a mess, but I'm just OCD, and I'm like, I'm going to go get these Milwaukee pack out tools to, organize this. And like, I pulled everything out of the drawers and off the walls and like rehung them and, built a new tire rack. And, I geek out about that kind of stuff, but it helps.
There's a big satisfaction
everyone.
After the fact.
Well, let's say, you're, it's top 4. You're competing. You guys are killing it. You get bumped into. You got to come back and change the tie rod and do an alignment, and maybe the wheel and tire because it got boogered up in the wreck.
Yeah.
When that happens to us, our spotter tells us, Jason relays on the radio, this is what happened. It looks like front right. It wasn't a bad wreck, but things are definitely boogered up. That just get an idea of what to expect when it gets back to the pit.
Yeah.
So we've already got generally what tools we think, what parts we think, the jack's ready, the jack stands. We've got the alignment plates ready to go. If that happens and you have those minutes to fix the car, you're dead.
Yeah.
You can't look for a tool or a part and have minutes, and they're sitting there with the timer watching you like a hawk, and the drone's flying over. That's
circling around your pit.
Dude, it's stressful, but it's so freaking cool. When that happens, you're able to knock it out, get back on track, and whether you win or lose the next run is determining whatever happens. But the fact that you were able to even try after something like that is a great
pat
feeling.
Yourself on the back.
Yep.
At that point.
And everyone's been there. I mean, it's not like we're unique in that situation, but
yeah.
You see guys like the RTR guys, they can drop an entire subframe, brake lines and everything, put a new one in like 3 minutes, and be back on track. That's organization. That's process.
Shit, swapping the rear subframe out of a Corvette or a diff or anything.
Yeah.
That's awful.
Oh yeah.
You see Matt Field and them do it in like 3 minutes or some shit. It's like, fuck.
Well, and that's in how you build the car too.
That.
You got to look at your car when you get to that level and say, obviously it runs well. Like, I'm here, it's good, it makes power, the alignment's good, it's dialed. But let's say this goes bad and we have 3 minutes to fix it. Can we do it? If you can't, redesign it. If there's a belt, if you're running a supercharger with 2 belts, that's not common, but whatever. If there's 2 belts and you can't get the second belt off because of the other belt in that quick of a time frame, maybe because your tensioner's in front of it or the bracket's in front of it, figure out how to make it better. There's always a way to do it, but it's those things you don't think about that get you into trouble. It's like, dude, we just lost the round because we couldn't get a belt changed.
Yeah. Damn.
One step ahead, baby.
Yep. That's the comp life.
That's what we strive for. Not everybody.
Oh yeah, of course.
Nobody's perfect.
And I like that a lot of parts companies are starting to look out for stuff like that. Like whenever I put my FDF kit on, dude, easy peasy.
Yeah.
It was like a dream putting that kit on. Didn't have to look at any YouTube video. Which obviously I know how to put a fucking angle kit on. I had one before, but they're always like different in their own way. And this one had so many adjustments and shit, and like even all the adjustments were simple.
Yeah,
it's just eyeballed, but like it's pretty fucking straight. Like it's where it needs to be.
I'll do that. I mean, I'm not too good. I have no ego in my ability. If I have something I have to fix, if I've done it a million times and I can do it with my eyes closed, I won't. But if it's just anything, I'll go to the store and buy it, or like I get the package and I'm opening it. I'll watch a video, even if it's to see what tools are used. That way, when I get there, you're not laying down, and getting back up, going to the toolbox. You're not struggling. You kind of have an idea of what to expect. So
no lift props.
I got an ego in saying that. I mean, it's just working smarter.
Yeah. I've always said you can learn the basics of literally any industry or anything you want to learn,
Mhm.
you can learn all of it. It's normally fairly simple at that point.
I think it was Joe Rogan that talked about that on one of his podcasts about like the majority of what he knows he learned from YouTube.
Yeah.
And that's, some people they'll scoff at that, but in reality, it's no different than 30 years ago going to the library and reading a book on how to rebuild a carburetor or, whatever you want to learn.
Yeah,
It's
just a different format.
That Ty, what's his face? The guy that got famous in Knowledge.
Ty Lopez.
He said it in the goobiest way, but what he said was spot on.
Oh yeah, dude, I would get stuck on those ads.
Yeah.
Because I was always into like how to make money and stuff as
Right.
a very young person. Dude, like hour-long ads.
Oh yeah.
And I would sit there and just watch them until I probably 45 minutes in, and I'm like, holy shit, I was supposed to be watching a video.
Yeah.
And then I'll realize, but
yeah,
man.
people discount it just because it sounded funny, but dude, he's a freaking
thought
rich
it was a
dude.
scam and shit. I don't know. Looks like he's got money, bro.
Yeah. Books are expensive.
Apparently. Actually, have you gone to a bookstore recently and seen how much books just go for now?
No.
Dude, when I was a kid, I mean, you can go and buy a popular book for like, I've never been a reader. I hate reading, but $10.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it's hard to find a book under like 30 now.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, it must be nice with that daddy money.
Yeah.
No, I've recently started reading more. It's something that I struggled with in school, just not being able to, the reading comprehension side of it. It's not intelligence.
Yeah, that's
it's just
me.
It's like, well, just get a 400-pound dude to backflip. Okay, well, that's...
Well, you could try. I don't know.
Yeah, my learning process is about that.
Yeah, I always had to have visual to watch something being done to learn it. I couldn't just read. I would read even just a paragraph, and I would forget everything I read as soon as I was done.
I hadn't read a book in years. Decades maybe. And I was flying somewhere. I don't know what. It was just a wild hair. Went into the little corner store in the airport, and there was a book that caught my... I don't remember the name of it, but it was the CEO of Hobby Lobby. His book.
Okay.
And I didn't even know when I bought it. I just picked it up off the shelf. I judged the book by its cover, and I read the entire thing on the airplane. First time I've read a book in years. And I was just mesmerized by the business side of it, his attitude as a business owner and a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of stuff is beneficial. Even if you aren't going to be a business owner, it's beneficial in your everyday life, how you treat people. And how you treat people is how you get treated.
Yeah.
I don't
go
care
about
what
your
anybody
job
says.
in a different way.
Absolutely. I hate going through a drive-thru and they don't even say hey.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you doing? And they just reach for the card.
Yeah.
Guys, I try to represent myself and how I want to be treated. And that's no different. So as a whole, we need to work on that to influence the people that weren't raised that way. Not, look at me.
Yeah.
People weren't fortunate enough to grow up like I did. And to show that care to other people is huge. We all have to do it. And it's one of the reasons I freaking love kids coming to the pits and talking with us. And like, dude, some of these kids have never even seen an LS in person or a supercharger.
Yeah.
Or like
no way.
aftermarket wheels. They play with their little cars at home and they watch it on TV. And now they're sitting right in front of it, talking to the guys that build and drive it. Dude, You're their hero. Act like it.
And that's what I love the most. That's why I like the more grassroots stuff.
Yeah.
Because when it feels like a whole... Well, I wouldn't personally know how it feels in FD, but every time a kid comes up to... I had my last event, I had a kid and his dad come up to me, and the dad came up and he was like, I honestly don't know what it is. Like, this is just a 350Z. It doesn't, it sounds like a normal 350Z, but my kid doesn't care for any other car here. He just wants to look at your car. Yeah. I was like, dude, put him in the driver's seat.
Yeah, you want to drive it?
I love that shit, man. Yeah. I mean, the kid was like 5 or
get
6
a phone book
or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Tape some bricks to his feet.
There you go.
No, I know.
Some cups.
That's it. And when you have that bad attitude and someone comes up and it ruins that kid's day.
Yeah.
That's breaks my heart to think about that.
Yeah.
so many kids that they grow up. I don't know. This is maybe too deep, but like an unfortunate situation. You know, their dad's always working, trying to provide. You know, the mom's working. They're working 2 jobs.
Yeah.
They mesmerize themselves watching us, you, me, Adam, everybody in FD, NASCAR, F1, whatever it is, and they have the opportunity to be right there. It's like, dude, yes, come on. Here's a sticker.
And that was a cool experience for me because I never said it on the podcast, but Dustin, I talked a little bit about seeing his car, but Dustin Miles was one of the people that kind of influenced the culture of drifting on me because he was one of the cars that I saw that really stood out to me
for sure
at my first event I went to. So that was really cool to be able to like interview him and stuff. But dude, yeah, I remember those moments of me being a kid and looking up to those people. So any chance I can.
And you don't have to be anybody to be looked up to.
Yeah.
You can, at whatever point in your life, you can be broke in a 1-bedroom apartment, struggling to pay your bills, and someone's on the streets being like, I wish I had a roof over my head.
Yeah.
So you're somebody's hero every day.
Yeah.
Act like it.
Like we said in Scott's episode, humble your fucking self.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Being humble. I mean, what does it get you to be egotistical? Like, yeah, I built the car. Like, oh yeah, dude, I've been watching you for years. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, I can drive pretty great.
Yeah, you just get everyone walking away from you. That's it.
Okay.
You got your materials. Congrats, buddy.
Yeah. Well, that goes back to the business thing. Look yourself in the mirror. I mean, self-acknowledgement of mistakes and how you present yourself is huge. It's vital to your success. Ultimately, you can be egotistical and it's hollow. You'll get to a level and you'll fall off. You see it all the time in celebrities that have drinking problems, drug problems, going bankrupt, having to sell off their Bentleys and Ferraris. And, you know, it's great. If you've worked your entire life to get to a point and you buy these things for yourself, awesome. I applaud you. But that's one thing that the CEO of Hobby Lobby, they donate 60% of their profits every year.
Holy shit.
60%. And I can't remember the number, but hundreds of millions of dollars a year in revenue. And he lives in a basic house. He has 1 car. His wife has a car. They don't have private jets. They don't have islands.
Yeah.
When they could go buy anything that they want. And it's a humble, no ego. Just, they want to take care of their employees. And that's the ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm. That's the ideal.
Hair's raised up.
I don't give a fuck about no big house, no fancy shit. I just want.
Oh, I want a mansion.
I personally, pool. I don't like. That's just too much to fucking maintain. And I don't want to pay a maid to be around me all the time. That's just weird.
Totally being facetious. I want acreage. Give me some land.
Well, land, that's different. I want some land
and far away.
Yeah, land in a shop is really all I give a fuck about. Well, now a studio. I have to have a studio, but
just do what you love.
Yeah,
and find what you actually love and enjoy. Not what you think other people will look at you and admire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you got some good fucking advice. I love this.
I'm 84 years old.
Okay.
Chicken and fish every day.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll close it out here in a little bit, but what's your best piece of advice just for anyone getting into drifting?
I mean, other than what we've touched on, find your open door. I mean, your path is not going to be what other people's paths are. It doesn't matter what you do. You may have the most cookie cutter high school, college, diploma, entry-level job, but you still experienced unique opportunities and challenges that somebody may not have experienced, at least in the order that you did.
Yeah.
So your ability to look at what's happening and see the paths that may open up from what you do, whether it's good or bad. And that's why people in media have PR, because they'll start talking and say things they don't need to be saying. And that might take you back down there.
Yeah.
You know, it might not be taking you the direction you want to go. And that's big now. You know, people getting canceled left and right. And a lot of people do need to be canceled, but it's a slippery slope and it's very fragile. So Dude, I don't know. That's a loaded question. That's another hour. Just follow your dreams, man. And it's you can fly if you want to. I never thought that.
Realize it's a lot simpler than it seems to be.
Yeah, it just might take time. Time is not impossible, and it's not overcomplication. So as long as you take advantage of every opportunity, whether it's a failure or a success, learn from it and keep it in your back pocket. Just don't stop.
Awesome. I love it. Well, you got anyone you want to shout out? Any companies, or shout out yourself to the audience?
Lots of companies that are, slipping my mind, but obviously Donut, go check out the channel, and the Real Mechanic Shit channel is pretty cool. Adam Knappich Racing, Adam's Instagram. Don't add me because I'm not cool. And just everybody that comes out, all the fans, anybody that buys merch, dude, come talk to us. We love it.
Awesome.
Keep coming out.
Hell yeah. Well, that's pretty much it for this one. So, again, thank you for coming out.
Yes, sir.
You had a little bit of a drive. It wasn't too bad though, right?
Not too bad.
That's awesome. Well, again, we're close to 15K, so please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notifications so you don't ever miss an episode. But that's it. I will see you guys next week. Peace.
Dope.
Hell yeah.
I blacked out. What happened?
Oh, did we start?
I'm making his dog like I'm in the big leagues. Told him that I gotta go, dog. I'm riding the road, y'all. I think that I'm back in my bag now. So I need that go, y'all. Got hits when he throwing the fastball. Just too quick for it. Peeling off like the whip orange. Seen they effort, this piss poor. I got too much I gotta tend to. Car payments and the rent due. Told y'all that I'm 6 foot, but with